Bible Leadership Podcast.
Honestly, influence is in this culture is a reward for putting your reps in.
Yeah.
Like you get influenced
That's right.
by doing the work, by showing up and fitting into the system that was here before you got here.
Right.
And learning the values of what's in place here.
Otherwise, you're going to replicate the wrong culture.
Exactly.
And I think this is the big thing. When someone's coming to me and they're saying, I should do this, you're asking me to let you skip all the culture.
Right.
So whoever follows you is going to be mimicking the wrong thing.
Right.
What up, everybody? Welcome to the Bible Leadership Podcast. My name is Mark Carter. You know, when I'm going to a place I haven't been before, I'd always prefer to have as many specific warnings and details as possible if someone's trying to give me directions. See, there's a difference between, hey, look for the rock that is shaped like an elephant, and when you get to the rock shaped like an elephant, watch out for the poison ivy on the south side of it. And I might need a guide to be with me to point that out. There's a difference between telling me the concept and actually showing me what could go wrong. That's what these 10 years into a church plant episodes are about. Of course, I think these leadership lessons apply to multiple contexts. So here they are again. Remember last week we said, focus on doing excellent work for Jesus, not the amount of likes you get. Number 2, resist making promises to keep people happy. And here's the ones we're going to discuss today. Number 3, get wisdom and coaching and vision. Number 4, be slow to trust people who brag. Everybody starts at the bottom. Hey, let's jump back in with Pastor Brandon. 10 years into a church plant, avoid these mistakes. Let's go. Number 3, get wisdom and coaching and vision. There's no sexy way to say that. I mean, here's what I would just say. I think, when we first started, when you step out and do something like plant a church, there's something you want to prove in a good way, hopefully a little bit. In my case, I probably was too insistent of hey man, I've got to have the vision. I've got to have it right. I got to get the right answers. Seeking wisdom through the team is something I didn't do enough. Seeking out, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And it could have had anything to do with sermon planning. It could have had to do with we're making this decision about where we go. There's probably a piece of me that so was afraid that I need to protect my authority that I didn't invite other people into certain conversations just because I didn't think about it, that it would have just given me more options. And I had very honoring people, so it wasn't like they were going to be weird about that, but their advice probably would have helped certain situations. Because the problem is with your own wisdom, that's the only option on the table now. Mm-hmm. Instead of having 5 options, you just have the one that you concluded. And so right. Proverbs 11:14, where there's no guidance, the people fall. But in abundance of counselors, there is victory. I wish so bad I just would have asked people, how else might we solve this? This is what I'm thinking, but what about you? And we've just found over the years, there's so much more creativity. There's so much even just surprise things that oh, God just spoke to that person. Holy cow. Mm-hmm. There's so much advantage to even just feeling like I'm led through God through the people, not just through the Holy Spirit. I think that's just a maturity thing that I think it's just so much more healthy to be listening for some of those voices.
Yeah, that's a big revelation for me. Even I feel like recently that I can bring people into, I can ask 4 or 5 people about a decision I'm thinking about and not have to feel like if I say, thanks for your input, I'm not going to do what you said.
Yeah.
Like I let them down or I used to get in a fist fight every time we do that.
That was a bloody time.
Yeah, but it's gotten better.
Yeah, so. They're better fighters.
Yeah, we're all better. Actually.
You don't land as many hits as before.
It's scarier.
Yeah. Plus, they bring bow staffs. I think that's true. And I think also not just with decisions, but maybe even just how you're going to message things. So whether I'm going in for a conversation about, hey, I have to have a tough conversation about somebody. It might be smart sometimes without, betraying any confidentiality things to be like, hey, this is what I have to say. How would you shape that? Especially for guys like me where I might be more inclined to, not because I want to, but just it's my personality. I might be a little more blunt. And just having that advice on how are you going to handle this, or before the congregation, hey, here's what you're trying to say, but you might be forgetting about this kind of subcategory of people, and they're going to need to hear this right now. And so that can just be so helpful.
That always helps.
So you got wisdom, but then you've got coaching. So I need wisdom from other people, but I also need coaching. Coaching is about other people seeing what we can't see who are outside the organization. Dude, at the end of the day, there's groupthink. Groups think alike, and we need somebody on the outside to be like, hey, here's what y'all look like, or hey, this is weird, or you're thinking this is super normal. I've been outside you. It's not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so you just need to think about that. And I've just found it super helpful, even when you have to pay for it, whether you pay for it or you get, I think there's a couple kinds you can pay for it from some more experts, but there's even just other friends, maybe ministry friends that are a little bit older. You're like, hey, dude, I'll buy you coffee or I'll buy you, breakfast or whatever, but give me feedback, because there's crap I don't see about me that I need somebody outside of us to be able to say.
Mm-hmm. That's huge.
And then finally, so we got wisdom, we got coaching, and then vision. And vision, I mean, this is so potent that I didn't realize at first. I took responsibility on myself the first few years of the church plant that I had to give everybody vision. I had to go up to the mountain, talk to Jesus, bring down whatever he gave me, and then here's the vision. Now, there is a component of that. Now it's much more spread out with other people involved. But I didn't understand that I don't even need it to be our vision to help people. So a few years in, we started going to other churches that were a little bit bigger or way bigger than us, way beyond us. And I found if I can just get people to New Spring, or I can just get people to Elevation, they'll get plenty of vision without me saying anything. They'll get super excited. They'll come back. They'll work harder. Because why? Because now they're refreshed of oh, dude, God does amazing things.
Yeah.
If I just give myself to this, God's going to do something awesome. I don't know, B, you've been a part of that experience. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, I can confirm. I remember being on some of those trips thinking, why on earth are we here? We have 4 people, and this is New Spring. There's 20 people in the department that does my single job.
Yeah.
When we go to New Spring, there's 20 people in the music department, or more probably. And sitting down with people and trying to say, we would set up some meetings, and I'd try and say, so who does is there a worship pastor that I can speak to? Well, which part of that job do you want to There's a whole department for each function of what you do. And I remember being on some of those trips wondering, how does this even relate? I have no idea what to go do based on what I've seen here, but it was really cool.
Yeah.
And I feel like I just got refilled and kind of topped off and really energized. And the Lord was, through that time speaking a ton of just vision to me personally between me and the Lord. So I definitely, I feel like that was kind of we stumbled into that discovery.
And so there you kind of get the best of all worlds, because you're getting feedback, you're getting counsel, you're getting wisdom, you're having people that are outside of you saying, well, here's maybe what you guys should think about. Yeah. And then you're just having the Holy Ghost say, I do amazing things. Yep. Don't quit limiting me with your faith, because we all run into those kind of faith ruts of well, it's probably just going to be this for a while.
Yeah.
And we need our faith kind of refreshed and energized and revisioned.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's number 1 through 3. B, what about number 4?
Number 4 is be slow to trust people who brag, and remember that everybody starts at the bottom.
Yeah, this is a bigger one for me. So, and I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but I think it's really important, especially if you're going to lead anything where there's going to be people attracted to it. Here's just what I've regretted. I've regretted when people come up to me and they're like, I know most people start at the bottom, but I'm kind of a big deal. So can you just put my hands in this kind of ministry? And it always triggers me to think back to Proverbs 27:2, which is let another praise you and not your own mouth. Anytime someone's talking to me about them, it should be a little red flag, because the mature trust God to raise them up. And in every case for me, I know Brandon's got a little different story, but in every case for me, they were nowhere near as good as they thought. Even their ability to discern what is good wasn't that good. So I think I've come back to the principle of, dude, if you're really good, I'll notice. And I'm not saying we don't seek people out. I'm not saying that we don't give people a leg up from time to time, or once you know they're actually that good, then you give them certain things. But when I have no history with this person and they just tell me they're good and that I came from this place and I was kind of a big deal. Okay, well, if you're really a big deal and you're really spiritually a big deal, you won't mind, just like Jesus said in Luke 14, hey, how about you not exalt yourself so that you don't have to get humbled, and rather humble yourself so you can be exalted? Go to the last place of honor and let the Lord bring you up. I think in every case it would have saved me heartache, and honestly, it would have caused less confusion, because now there's someone who's not really qualified to be doing what they're saying they need to do. I don't know, B, how do you see it?
It's so good, man. I love that. I think the idea, especially with musicians, there are people that have come through that honestly, I know from our first like 5 minutes of talking, you don't even need to do an audition.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad I've always kept that as the front door. Like everybody comes through the front door. You have to do an audition. And now we actually have a development process that it's like a 5-week thing. Even after your audition, you're going to have to do some version of shadowing over the course of 5 weeks with somebody who's already doing the role. And the temptation right around week 3 is let's just skip the rest. Like you're good enough. By far, you're good enough. Just jump in. And I'm glad we've never done that because honestly, influence is in this culture is a reward for putting your reps in.
Yeah.
Like you get influence by doing the work, by showing up and fitting into the system that was here before you got here.
Right.
And learning the values of what's in place here.
Otherwise, you're going to replicate the wrong culture.
Exactly.
And I think this is the big thing. When someone's coming to me and they're saying, I should do this, you're asking me to let you skip all the culture.
Right.
So whoever follows you is going to be mimicking the wrong thing.
Right.
It's not about your skill necessarily. It's about, I need to know that you're going to respond the right way, that we would respond in that kind of situation. So I'm just encouraging leaders, when you're building something, you need people in high-level positions to do it the way your organization does it, not confusing everybody by bringing in some different principles that maybe they learned somewhere else, but that's just not you guys.
Yeah, there's a different culture coming with them in that scenario. One of the things that comes to mind, too, for musicians with me is some of the time I've been convicted that the brag persona, the kind of arrogance or self-confidence that I'm picking up on in our first talk, I'm glad I didn't say no for the Lord based on that one conversation.
Yeah.
Or like say no too early. Because what's true in some cases is they really are really good.
Yeah.
And they're communicating that in a way that's very confident and truthfully just fine. It just my Christian ears hear that as like arrogance. And, and if I'm honest, sometimes I accidentally judge that.
Yeah.
But if I slow down and just remember, okay, if there is arrogance, if there is a brag kind of self, confidence that the Lord would shave off and refine in them, probably it's at least partly my responsibility to shepherd them through that. And it's an honor for me to get to do that. And it always really has been.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. So it's not that when someone comes and tells you that they're kind of good, you're like, no, you probably suck.
Yeah.
Like that's not what we're saying.
Right.
We're saying they might actually be that good, but they don't get to be given something right away. They have to start at the bottom, just like Jesus taught. And so the conversation can just go, hey man, awesome. If you're really that good, that can be tremendously valuable for us. But we're going to have a we'll see perspective about it. So let's start you here, because even if you are that good, there's just cultural norms that are not in you yet. And we need to get it in you. Plus, I'm not super confident after all these years that people are really all that. I don't know that people really understand their giftedness sometimes as much as they think they do. So they'll think they're really good at X and they're really more good at M. You know what I'm saying? But that won't be seen until we give them more things to do, right?
Yeah. And another piece of advice. So if you're starting at the bottom and you're taking the last seat and you're putting your reps in, be reminded that the spiritual gift of critique is not a thing. So you might
tell me about that.
Yeah, you might have.
I've seen that a lot.
Yeah, you might have some perspective on how something could be better, and that's great.
Yeah,
for me at least, you get the right to really speak into that.
That's an earned thing.
After you've carried some boxes for a bit. You've loaded the trailer. You've shown me that you can sweat, that you can hustle.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a relational trust thing.
Yes.
I like the way you said it. You've earned the right to be able to do that. And just to clarify, we've looked all throughout the Bible through all the lists of spiritual gifts.
We checked.
There is not a critique gift. Like that's not real.
Right.
That's proof that you can be judgmental or that you're opinionated or that you're arrogant.
Yeah. So if you start a sentence with, well, here's what you got to do.
Yeah. Which, and just to be serious, it's not that there's not validity to some of that stuff. There is, but you need to become a part of the tribe so that I trust your heart, so that I know, who you are versus when you're coming in, hey, I'm smart and people need to get it, that's just not going to go well, is what we've found. Well, hey, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with Pastor Brandon and I. If you've got thoughts about this, don't be afraid to leave a comment at BibleLeadership.com on the post page. And if this was helpful to you, don't forget to leave a review. And remember that sharing the podcast goes a long way toward helping other Christian leaders find it. So don't miss an opportunity to share it with people you think who might be interested. If you haven't been to BibleLeadership.com lately, go ahead and check out some of the swag and some of the new digital downloads that are on there right now if you want to support the BLP. And speaking of support, thank you so much to those of you who support the BLP through Patreon. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you can go to patreon.com/Bible Leadership. Anything you pledge goes a long way toward helping us create more digital resources to help people grow as spiritual leaders. We are believing God for big things, and we couldn't do it without you. All right, my friends, now don't forget, you don't need to be perfect to lead. Just lead toward the perfect Savior, Jesus Christ. He knows you're inadequate to lead, but He is adequate to lead through you. Find ways to avoid pointing to yourself so you can point to Him even more. It won't be long, and we're going to see Him face to face. Lead strong today.